Welcome back to Rise and Rebel Radio. This episode is about what happens when the world goes quiet and you finally listen. I'm your host, Aya Khodja. What happens when no one knows what you're going through or knows how to hold the safe space to unleash the fire that is burning within you? What does quiet mean to you, truly? For me, it's a space to reflect and to truly come back home to myself, my soul. I stopped running from silence and discomfort a few years ago. This was before the pandemic. So when the pandemic rolled in, I embraced the quiet time I had. I learned to enjoy sitting in silence, and I learned to find joy in sitting with the discomfort. Silence used to scare me because it left me alone with myself, and that felt weird. You see, in my culture, women were taught to be busybodies. And so what I mean by that is women were always taught to do something. You couldn't just stay and rest, right? Like women were taught to clean the house, cook, prepare the house for the surprise guest, because in our culture, in the Turkmen culture, there's no such thing as scheduling things ahead of time. It was now or never type of an event when it came to guests. Could you imagine somebody just pops in, knocks on your door first thing in the morning and you're still in pajamas and your bed hair? Yeah, that happens often in Turkmen culture, as well as I heard Mexican culture has very similar surprise guests. I'm sure other cultures have that as well. So luckily, that never really actually happened to me per se, because I grew up in America. So I'm very grateful for the American culture in that, we schedule events in advance so that everybody is aware and ready to attend, right? So back to the main topic of sitting still and with silence. That is its own discipline, right? And its own language that I had to learn on my own because I was groomed to be a busybody. And so I'm actually reading a book currently. It's called Permission to Rest by Ashley Neese, in which she reminds us that our society did not teach us how to rest. So we people don't know how to behave when our body is yearning for us to rest. Tell me if this resonates. We truly think that rest is a waste of time because we have been conditioned to work and stay busy all the time. In my culture, I'll say this because it's firsthand experience. If a woman mentions or actually rests and everybody else sees it, she's deemed as lazy. So I hope you can understand why I'm reading this book now, especially. And this is really to remind myself to rest without having to justify myself to anyone, because I notice within my own nervous system how I feel guilty resting in my own home. I even notice it in my own mother, where the cultural conditioning it's still deeply rooted in both of us. And we feel guilty for resting in our own home in each other's presence. So I try to remind her and encourage her to rest as much as she wants. She worked hard her entire life. She can and should allow herself to rest when needed. But I do witness the discomfort she has with rest. I witness it within myself too. And I honor her journey as well as mine and yours, especially if this resonates. That when it comes to rest, right? Because it's not easy to rest. I get it. We actually also don't know how to do it well either. And that's okay. I had to learn that rest is not something that you earn. It is something that your body is asking for to recharge itself in this busy, noisy world. The true question and challenge really is, will you let your body rest? I want to read an excerpt from the book Permission to Rest. where the author says, to rest is to not only reduce overwhelm, soothe anxiety, and increase our capacity to focus. To rest is to touch into our deepest selves, to know who we are without the mask of work or the projection of our social conditions. To rest is to quench our thirst for meaning, satisfy our hunger for depth, and settle our longing to align with the sacred in our everyday lives. To rest is to take a step back and notice what is good, what is alive, and what is unshakable in ourselves. To rest is to release pushing and connect to the idea that we are part of creation. And that creation will continue to generate life in every cycle without our exertion. To rest is to move from surface to depth, from an outward focus to an inward intention for our lives, our communities, and our planet. That's how important rest is. It's so interesting because when I learned to embrace the silence, the quiet, I learned more about what it is that I needed and wanted out of my life. I started meditating 10 years ago, and the first few years were challenging because I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. Until I learned meditating is really giving yourself and your mind the space to sit in silence and to let the silence help you answer your deepest questions and concerns. Maybe even bring awareness that your concerns aren't as big as you may come out to be. I don't think meditation and rest is the same thing, but I will say this. They do have one thing in common. They both invite you to pause. When I first started meditating, I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. I really wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. But sitting in silence, even for 5 minutes, first thing in the morning, revealed something. Silence introduced me to myself. There were truths that surfaced because I was more mindful of my choices. Silence helped me slow down and be mindful with my actions. Silence taught me how 5 to 10 minutes of quiet meditation a day could change the way you perceive the world. The situations that you're in, you can change that too, and how to handle everything mindfully. That's how powerful silence is. And sitting with yourself. And some of the strongest versions of me were built in silence, through meditation, and by allowing quiet time for myself to reflect. The kind of confidence that is built in private can't be measured. It can only be felt by you. And what prompted me to start meditating was when I first got into sales 10 years ago. I remember my mind would run wild about all of the limiting beliefs I had about myself, on how I could not close a deal, even put a deal together, yada, 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 all of the limiting beliefs about my lack of experience that would keep me stagnant. And how dare I choose myself over a marriage that was failing the moment my partner and I entered it. Silence can build you up only when you make the decision to choose yourself and to let yourself be with yourself without any distractions. Silence reminded me of what the true power within feels like and looks like. Silence helped me hush the limiting beliefs in my head. Silence helped me get centered and reminded me to only focus on the present moment and the task at hand. Not what's going to happen a week from now or months or years from now. Silence invites you to be here now. That's it. And because of that, I am now a different woman than I was 10 years ago. And there are a lot of people who cannot recognize me now because I have changed the way I show up in this world and the way I show up for myself. So when I was married, I was over 200 pounds and I had difficulty losing the weight when I was in the relationship. Silence teaches you to listen to your body. And your body is such an intelligent tool. It will tell you when you are in an unsafe and in an unhealthy environment. And I did not know that I was in an unhealthy environment until I left the relationship and right away dropped almost 100 pounds easily. I did not know that all I needed to do was listen to my body and what it was asking of me. So I learned how to listen to my body through silence. I learned that silence was my friend, not something I needed to be afraid of. Silence is the best mentor and spiritual guide you can have when you no longer let your limiting beliefs run the show. Silence becomes your power when you finally decide to step in and act as the creator of your own life. So let me ask you this. Can you meet yourself in silence? Can you meet yourself in rest? Will you allow yourself to create the opportunity to meet yourself in silence and in rest? Here's an invitation for you. The next time your body asks for rest, could you let yourself have rest without feeling guilty? The way I remind myself not to feel guilty for resting or taking my time is reminding myself that rest is an investment for my future. How is it possible, you may ask? When I rest, the best ideas come to me. When I rest, I have more energy to execute those awesome ideas. When I rest, I learn so much about myself and the world around me and how we function as people. Rest is your friend. It's not your enemy. Rising doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes it looks like stillness. And stillness is not weakness. It's preparation.